You're going to want to start by laying down on the floor. Choose a slightly comfortable spot, preferably a fluffy carpet or something, but laying on the floor is going to take you out of the normalcy of when you typically lay down, being on a bed or on a sofa. It will put you in a different subtle energy formation. It will bring you back to almost a childlike state, at which point you're going to continue to just stare at the ceiling for about 5 minutes, coming to terms with everything around you, coming to terms with where you are, coming to terms with the fact that you're finally going to take the steps necessary to become what you've always wanted to become. So, while you're laying on the floor and you're staring at the ceiling, try to become aware. Try to become mindful of the subtle energy realm that's around you, the presence that's around you. Notice that there are energies and certain signatures that are around you that you cannot see with your two eyes, because they lie past the visible light spectrum. As soon as you begin to become more in tune with your third eye, this is when you begin to pick up more on these subtle energies around you, and you will actually be able to tune into seeing them. What really goes into perceiving is more than just seeing with the physical eyes. It's feeling, it's hearing, it's smelling, it's even tasting. We have more than one sense, so we can perceive in more than one way, thus adding to the whole perception. And once you have allowed yourself to tune in to the subtle energies that are around you, you can now close your eyes. And I want you to feel completely safe. You're in the safety of your own home. You're becoming who you need to become. So when you close your eyes, I want you to take your hands together and put your fingertips together. What this is doing is completing the cycle of energy between your palms and your fingertips, and it's keeping it very cyclical. This is why people pray this way. It's blocking out the energies from the outside and bringing them and keeping your internal energy flowing. So while you're on your back and you bring your hands together, they don't have to touch the palms. I want you to take your hands and your attention, because where your attention goes, your energy will flow, and move your hands and your attention to the base of your spine and place your hands over it in the triangular formation, and allow your attention to be drawn to that chakra. I want you to picture the sun, the brightest sun, the brightest that you have ever seen the sun. I want you to imagine that, but with a red filter over it. As soon as you place this red filter over that sun, I want you to imagine that's the chakra. That is your lowest chakra. That is the so-called first chakra. It is a bright, bright, bright red sun. And it's continuing to grow ever so slightly and get brighter and brighter. And while you're doing your chakras and imagining the sun, I want you to imagine also and take note of what each chakra is responsible for. So while you're doing your lowest chakra, you imagine the need for survival. You imagine the need for the material world. And what you're doing is taking the control of that part of your system. And then out loud or in your head, proclaim that you are cleansing and activating your lowest chakra. Once you have done this and you feel secure with the way that you have done it, and you know that you have done it properly, you can begin to move up and take your triangle and move it upward until you're at your sacral chakra. And when you move up to your sacral chakra, you're going to do the same thing. Imagine the sun, but imagine it orange. Or imagine it the brightest orange that you've ever seen it. And you allow your attention, which is your energy, to flow to your sacral chakra, where it can slowly grow and get brighter and brighter. And your sacral chakra is dealing with your emotional plane. This is why when something goes wrong, sometimes we feel sick to our stomach. And this is where, when people want to induce fear into you, this is where it takes place. And this is why people will then soon react, even though it may not be the best reaction. So you're taking control over your sexual desires, you're taking control over your emotions, and you're taking control over your complete sacral chakra. And proclaim in your head or out loud again that this chakra is cleansed and fully operational. And when you feel happy with that, you move on up until you get to the solar plexus. And you do the same thing. The solar plexus is the yellow. So you can imagine the sun as bright as possible, the brightest, brightest, brightest yellow. And it can slowly grow, and you can decree that it's cleansed and that it is activated, and you can move up. And you bring your attention up to your heart chakra. In which case you will imagine the green, but it will be the sun with a shade of green over it. And it is the brightest that you have ever seen the color green, and it can slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger and brighter. And you can decree that it is cleansed and activated. Then you move up to your throat chakra, which is the royal blue. So it's a sunshine with a shade of royal blue over it, in which case it can get brighter and brighter and bigger and bigger, and then you decree that your throat chakra is cleansed and activated. Up to your third eye. So you take your attention, your hands, and your energy, and you move it to your third eye, which is going to be the indigo purple or the indigo blue. So you can imagine the sunshine with a shade of indigo over it. And then this is growing brighter and brighter and bigger and bigger. You declaim and decree that it is cleansed and activated, and you move on to your crown chakra, which is violet. And it's the sunshine with a shade of violet over it that gets bigger and brighter and bigger and brighter, and then at which point you can decree and claim that it is activated and that it is cleansed. After you have done this, allow the feeling, tune into the feeling of the energy rushing back and forth through your body. You are now creating the flow of the electromagnetic force, but you were tuning into it and you were learning to control it. And with your eyes still closed and all of your chakras fully aligned and activated, I want you to envision your kundalini rising up, protruding out, and going back through in a cycle, but but it starts to go so quickly and it starts to go so quickly that it begins to pull tight, and your chakras all start to go together, almost like you're pulling a drawstring, and your chakras come mashed together into one bright white light. It's going to feel like all of the molecules in your body are speeding up as you're pulling your chakras together. And when they finally mesh together, you're going to have one bright white light that is the source of your being. Allow that to radiate from you, at which point you can open your eyes and try to tune in again to that subtle realm, that subtle energy around you. And every time that you begin to walk through that door, it's going to be difficult. You're going to get pulled in and out of that feeling. But every time you can allow yourself to sit with that feeling, and don't try too hard, because every time you try to grab something, it gets further away. But if you can allow yourself to walk through that door and experience it, then the subtle energies around you will work in your favor. You can flicker the lights. You can start to see energies coming off of every shape that is around you, because everything is putting energy off. But it's hard to see if you're not trained in a way in which you can see it. So now again, I want you to try again to tune into the subtle energy realm that's around you. It should be very loving. You should feel safe where you are. But you should nonetheless be tuning into something greater than your flesh. I want you to sit up into your lotus position, which is crossing your legs and sitting upright with your palms outward, and start with your fingers, your index fingers, touching your thumb. And you're going to go from the sa, de, na, ma, and then finish with a aum, like an A-U-M. Not an om, but an aum, which is forming a pyramid. When you say aum, you're creating a crystal pyramid through your words. So, the sa, de, na, ma is going to activate the kundalini, and it is, and when you're doing it with your different fingers represent pineal gland, pituitary gland, thalamus, and hypothalamus, the whole light-bearing consciousness system. So when you're doing it, the sa, de, na, ma, and you finish with the aum, that's when you bring your hands together and you carry out the M from the aum, because the M is the frequency for the third eye. So you're activating your full self, and you're getting in your pyramid, because when you have a pyramid shape out of your body, you can preserve your life force. This is why when you see monks who passed away in this, their body is amazingly preserved without any external preservatives. So it'll be a little bit more like this. And you can repeat this until you become a crystalline being. Altogether, this process will take likely no longer than 40 minutes. Namaste, Hotep, Ashe.